Youth Offending Service and the Youth Offending team are much needed. They're a much needed resource. Punishment is just one part of what happens. The Youth Offending Service are there to assist both offenders and victims to recover from the crimes that have happened, but also to work with young offenders so they understand the implications of their behaviour.
Restorative justice is a flexible way of repairing the harm that is done by criminal activities. It includes the victim and offender. It's the only way of bringing those two parties together in a safe environment where they can discuss the issues and plan ways of physically repairing the harm, as well as ensuring that the victim doesn't remain a victim for too long and they can get back to their normal lives.
Unfortunately, sometimes these things happen, and the best thing to do now is to learn something from it, which is what a youth offending order is, a referral order is all about.
It's not about people cleaning graffiti off properties. It can be that, but it's not always that. It could be people just having that opportunity to discuss what's happened with them.
An initial panel meeting is where the young person attends a small panel hearing, and hopefully the victims involved in that as well, they can come together and discuss the young person's offence, how that's impacted on the victim, and ultimately to get the victim to have a say and input into this young person's order.
The people involved were asked to come but didn't feel that they wanted to do that, but they prepared a short statement.
If a victim doesn't want to attend panel, then very often what we can arrange to have is the victim's victim impact statement read out at panel.
I don't really want the boy to be punished, but I just want him to know that it has affected me, and I hope that it doesn't make anyone else feel like this in the future.
Even though they're not there, the way the offence has been impacted on them can be read out and taken into consideration when considering what reparation will take place.
I've actually myself been a victim of crime on a couple of occasions. I felt as though I'd lost control, and it put me off things like going to the petrol station, being on my own with the car as well, where I parked it up. They probably didn't realise the impact, and I think if I'd have been able to tell them my experience, you know, I think they would have think twice about doing that.
I think a lot of the time people find it easier when it's a faceless victim. Bringing somebody face to face means that they have to take that, like I said before, take that responsibility.
We want to explore what way people have been affected and hopefully work towards repairing the harm, which is what today is all about. Okay. Family conferencing is all about getting both sides of the parties together. The victim and their family will come and talk about how the offence has impacted on them as a family, on each individual person. The young person, the young offender, will bring their family as well, and they'll get to kind of talk about how the offence has impacted on them as a family as well.
We're just so disappointed in him, really, and I know it could have been any one of them, but it was Patrick, and it's our door that the police have come to, and that's very embarrassing.
It's about how that offence impacted everybody involved in both families, and that in itself can be extremely effective when we're tackling victims and reducing reoffending.
I suppose it leaves you with thoughts of, you know, if it could happen again, you know, certainly locking stuff away, being over, one could say, over protective of your stuff and locking things away and trying to be careful.
It isn't an easy option, because reparation and restorative justice is actually going face to face with a victim and actually really finding out what you did to that person and how it affected that person. That's not easy.
Before the conference I was quite scared because I didn't know what to expect, really. She did understand. It's sorted now, and I know she accepted my apologies.
I think it's a really good approach to use for rehabilitation of young offenders.
Point then.
I want to say sorry to Teresa for smashing the car window. That was a very stupid thing for me to do.
It was a bit more personal, that I could actually see the guy that had done the offence. Certainly something that to consider to do, because I found it not scary at all.
But it's up to you really, not your mum's job to get you to these meetings. You know, you're literally a big lad, aren't you?
You're having to sit in front of somebody, listen to the emotions, listen to the impact that the offence has had on that individual, and that makes you think, I suppose, should I do the same thing again? What if it was my friends or family who were victims of this type of offence?
If I'd have wrote him a letter, he would have just read it and threw it in the bin. But with being face to face, he had to sit there and look at me and listen to me. I wanted to help, you know, go to see him and see what he had to say. And it was very helpful to see him. He was very quiet. He was the opposite to what I think of a burglar as, you know, rough and horrible and what have you. But he seemed gentle and quiet.
Restorative justice makes a difference. Very often they're not very big. They're a bit pathetic looking, and then when you start talking to them, you find out where they're at, the sort of life that they've had, and you start to get that understanding of them.
It wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be. It was a lot more relaxed, informal, and he seemed a nice young lad really that wanted to make some sort of amends.
It was nothing personal, it was nothing nasty, it was just something he had to do for his drugs.
This will be a much shorter meeting.
Been to a panel meeting and obviously just agreed to my contracts, basically say that obviously I'm going to stick by my court order, I'm going to stay out of trouble and hopefully sort my life out sooner or later.
Reparation comes under the banner, if you like, of restorative justice. It means to repair the harm. At the very centre of that should be the victim, or at least victim's wishes or victim's input.
The community reparation that the yacht gets involved with, it does point out to young people the consequences of what they've done, but it gives something back to communities. It makes them get a part of communities, and actually from the victim's point of view as well, I think it helps them understand and get over some of the actions that have been taken against them. It makes sure that they can see that there's something positive coming out of something very negative that's happening to them.
The great thing with community reparation is young people doing things in their locality to try and put right the harm. Now that can be something as simple as putting a lick of paint on a fence, but if no one has put a lick of paint on that fence for 10 or 15 years, the impact on the community of seeing something freshened up, clean, looking good, makes people feel better about where they live. That allows young people who've offended against the community as a general to put something back.
Young people are in their own local community given opportunities to do something positive. Well, of course the local community benefits, and as well victims that are a part of the process. Of course we want them to benefit. We want them to get a sense of justice has been done. We want them to, you know, take ownership of the offence. It's all about them taking responsibility for what they've done. It's about them given the opportunity to do something about it as a way of making up for the harm. The types of community projects we've got at the minute, things like graffiti removal, and it sounds really rubbish, but it's not. When a young person gets the chance to dress up in all the gear and they put the wellies on and the ear defenders and all the equipment, they quite enjoy it. And it's, you know, they paint the stuff on, they wait the 20 minutes and they remove it off, and they can visibly see the results of some of their effort, and it's good for them to take ownership of their local community. Statistics say that communities, if they are graffitied by their local people, tend to stay cleaner for longer if they're removed by local children. Another community project is something called BTCV, British Trust of Conservation for Volunteers. A great organisation. They partner with the Woodland Trust. We work in local woodland in Halton and Warrington, all about woodland management, dead hedging, and all these different skills that they allow us to kind of use and train them up in. There's equipment that's involved, and the children love it. We've had young people that have been a part of Reparation, loved the project so much, and are finished with the yacht now, and are volunteers themselves and giving up some of their spare time.
Left. Can you drag it? Left.
One of the prime purposes of a youth court is to stop a young person from offending again. Restorative justice and reparation, which is another way of approaching it, that actually does have a positive impact for that young person. In Cheshire, the difference it's made is we're no longer criminalising young people. Restorative justice is the right way forward.
That's it. 3 points.
The work that the yacht do actually reduces the offending of young people, and that is central to what we want. We don't want crime within communities, and that's what victims want as well. So the work that they do makes sure that we actually can stop young people reoffending, get young people to understand the consequences of their actions, and actually that means not only do we reduce crime, which is what the police are about, but actually improves the life chances of the young person as well, and that's what's really critical.
You know, okay. So we open up the gym on a Saturday morning where we have the younger ones in from age 4 upwards. And we've got a lot of coaches helping us. So he's come down today because obviously he's got his reparation hours to complete. He's come down to enhance what we're doing and pick up some new skills for himself as well.
Come on. 2, 4. Go 3, go. 2 with the pads. Keep going.
To be honest, I wouldn't have been here if I'd not done anything wrong.
Right, we'll see you in a minute.
This experience has increased my confidence because I wasn't a type of person to help others out, but now I love it. I enjoy helping people out, and actually like helping people out, and hopefully I'll be working with little kids soon, helping to coach them free boxing.
There's lots of reasons why young people offend, but youth should be allowed to make mistakes and not have a record that's going to be there for the rest of their lives and is going to blight their future.
All young people make mistakes. All people make mistakes. If we can put the offender, the child, young person who's made mistakes, made some poor decisions, if we can put them in a position where they make better decisions and don't make mistakes, everybody is better off, including them.
Getting yourself into trouble isn't what it's all about. You need to sort yourself out and get into college, get yourself a decent career. I've learned from my mistake. People need to learn from theirs and stop reoffending, because it's not something that you need to do. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help anyone else.
This gives you a chance to make those mistakes that sometimes young people make and put it right, learn from the mistake, move on and become a decent citizen.
Yeah,